Hello everyone, welcome back to the Asean My Cyber Hero 2025 program. We are here to brief you on the Cybersecurity Basic Defense Workshop. For your information, the Asean My Cyber Hero 2025 program is organized by Microconcept Tech SDN, PhD, in collaboration with the National Cybersecurity Agency, NACSA. It also receives cooperation from Alpine Integrated Solution SDN BHD and support from the Ministry of Education Malaysia, KPM, My Digital Maker, and the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC. As you know, our previous workshop established foundational knowledge in computer science, networks, and the essential concepts of cybersecurity. Today, we transition from theoretical learning to practical application, as this session serves as your official briefing for the live cybersecurity competition. Our objective today is to provide you with a precise understanding of how this competition will be conducted. We will outline the structure, explain key procedures, and clarify any guidelines essential for your participation. This ensures every contestant is fully prepared to demonstrate their skills effectively and fairly. Now, let's look at the core of today's session, Cybersecurity Gamification Basic Defense. We've titled this segment, Defend Your Fort. This section is designed to explain the practical format of your upcoming live competition. We believe that learning and applying cybersecurity principles is most effective through an engaging and hands-on experience. Therefore, your competition will be presented in a gamified environment, simulating real-world defense scenarios. The Defend Your Fort concept means you will be challenged to protect a simulated digital asset or system against various cyber threats, just as one would defend a fort from attackers. This approach allows you to apply the basic defense strategies we have discussed in a dynamic and challenging setting. To provide a clear overview of today's session, we'll now present our agenda, structured into these key sections. First, we will detail the gamification of the Defend Your Fort competition mechanics. This segment will simply explain how the game works, outlining the basic operational framework for the challenge you're about to undertake. Following this, we'll review basic defense. This section will clearly explain the type of game you'll be playing, providing context for the defense strategies you'll need to employ. Next, we'll introduce the Windows Virtual Machine, VM. This part will explain the specific type of virtual machine environment you'll be playing on, which is essential for understanding your workspace during the competition. Finally, we'll conclude with a briefing on the competition itself. This section will offer a quick explanation of the competition's overall structure and critical final details. We'll now proceed through each of these points. Alright, let's now move on to our first main topic, gamification of the Defend Your Fort competition. In this section, we'll explain how this game works. Now, let's dive into how the Defend Your Fort competition actually works. This is a direct simulation of real-world cybersecurity. In this challenge, you will encounter a black hat hacker. This hacker will try to break into your assigned devices or computers that have known security problems. Your role, as the white hat hackers, or participants, is to protect these devices. You'll need to secure them under a limited time frame. If you are successful, meaning you protect the device from the black hat hacker, you will see a pop-up message that says, "Congratulations! The device was not successfully hacked." This means your device is safe, and you've completed that defense. However, if you are not successful in preventing the hack, a different pop-up will appear, stating, "Warning! The device has been successfully hacked." In this case, the device has unfortunately been compromised. This direct feedback will help you understand your performance in real time. Next, we move on to topic 2, basic defense. Here, we will explain the fundamental defense strategies you will use. Now, let's look at the different levels of basic defense that you will be applying in the competition. These levels organize the types of defense actions you'll need to perform. First, we have Defense Level 1, Computer Operating System Settings. This involves protecting the core software of the computer, like Windows, by adjusting its built-in security features. Next is Defense Level 2, Computer Network Settings. This level focuses on securing how the computer connects to other devices and the internet, ensuring those connections are safe. Then, we have Defense Level 3, Cybersecurity Breach Recovery Actions. Here, you'll learn what steps to take if a system has already been compromised, focusing on how to fix and recover it. And finally, Defense Level 4, Cyber Attack Defense Actions. This level is about actively defending against ongoing attacks, using strategies to prevent or stop cyber threats in real time. These 4 levels cover the main areas of defense you will encounter. We begin with Defense Level 1, Computer Operating System Settings. This is where we focus on securing the computer's main software. For Defense Level 1, which focuses on computer operating system settings, you will be performing 9 key activities. These include setting up password policies, adjusting user account control settings, configuring standard user settings, managing guest account settings, configuring firewall settings, updating Windows Update settings, modifying external USB port settings, utilizing reputation-based security and defense settings, and verifying ransomware protection availability and settings. We now begin with our first unit, a fundamental aspect of digital defense: password policies. In this unit, we will explore key questions such as, what is a password policy? And what are the bad effects if they are not set up properly? What is a password policy? It refers to the rules and guidelines that are set to manage and enforce user password security. These are settings that ensure passwords are strong and difficult to guess, with the purpose of protecting computer systems from unauthorized access by hackers. Furthermore, these settings can lock out user accounts after several failed login attempts within a specified period of time. Importantly, these settings help protect user accounts from being hacked, particularly from brute force attacks. Now, let's look at how to set up password policies in a practical way, which you might encounter in the competition. You will typically begin by pressing the Windows key and X simultaneously, and then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin, from the menu that appears. Once PowerShell is open, you can set a new password for a specific user, for example, a user named CyberAdmin. You would use a command similar to this: set local user name CyberAdmin password, convert to secure string cybro /2025 and sm Subangjaya as plain text force. Please note, cybro /2025 and amp sm Subangjaya here is just an example password. This command effectively changes the password for the CyberAdmin account to the one specified. After running a command, remember to press Enter to execute it. If the command is successful, you typically will not see any output displayed, meaning it completed as intended. To verify that the password has indeed been changed, you can use another command: get local user name CyberAdmin select object name, password last set. This command will show you the account name and the last date and time its password was set, confirming your action. This slide shows you the PowerShell output and the relevant Windows user interface for the password policies settings. Now, let's address what the bad effects are of not setting password policies properly. Firstly, without proper policies, users may tend to use weak or easily guessed passwords. Examples of these are common and simple sequences like password or 123456, which are very easy for others to figure out. Secondly, when passwords are weak, hackers can automatically try various password combinations. This method, known as a brute force attack, allows them to rapidly attempt many possibilities to gain unauthorized access to a victim's account. Finally, if these attacks are successful, hackers can break into a computer system. Once inside, their actions can include stealing sensitive data, corrupting important files, or even completely taking over the victim's computer system, which can have very serious consequences. This is why having strong password policies is so critical for defense. Now, we move on to Unit 2, User Account Control, or UAC, settings. In this section, we will address key questions such as, what are user account control settings? How do we set them up? And what are the bad effects if they are not configured correctly? So, what exactly are user account control settings? UAC is a security feature that was introduced by Microsoft as part of the Windows operating system. This setting is designed to display a confirmation prompt whenever a new application attempts to install on the computer, or whenever a program tries to make important changes. Essentially, The setting restricts infected or unknown programs from running on the computer without your explicit permission as the user. UAC allows you to set the level of control from the lowest to the highest. At its lowest level, it allows programs to make changes without providing notifications. However, at its highest level, it will always ask for your confirmation first before any program can run or make changes, giving you more control and protection. Let's look at how to set up user account control settings using commands, which is a common method in competition scenarios. You will start by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, admin. Once in PowerShell, you can type the command, set item property path hklm /software /Microsoft /Windows /current version /policies /system name consent prompt behavior admin value 2. This command specifically sets the UAC level for an administrator account by changing a setting called consent prompt behavior admin to a value of 2, which represents a higher level of control. To check the current UAC level after you've made changes, you can use the command, get item property path hklm /software /Microsoft /Windows /current version /policies /system name consent prompt behavior admin. This command will display the current value of the consent prompt behavior admin setting, showing you the UAC level that is currently active. Remember, each time you type a command, you must press enter to run it. If the command is successful, you will typically not see any output displayed directly in PowerShell. Here, you'll see the PowerShell output and the corresponding Windows user interface for the user account control, UAC, settings. Understanding what the bad effects are of not setting user account control properly is crucial. If UAC is not configured correctly or is set to a very low level, malicious software like viruses and malware can install itself on your computer without your knowledge and without displaying any notification or asking for your confirmation. This lack of control means that hackers can more easily break into your computer system to steal valuable data, corrupt important files, or even take complete control over your computer system. Furthermore, without proper UAC, both users and even legitimate applications might accidentally make significant changes to the computer's system settings without realizing it, which could lead to system instability or security vulnerabilities. Proper UAC settings act as an important barrier against these unwanted actions. We now move on to Unit 3, Standard User Settings. In this unit, we will address key questions such as, what are standard user settings? How do we set them up? And what are the bad effects if they are not configured correctly? So, what are standard user settings? These refer to the permissions and restrictions granted to user accounts, classifying them as either a standard user or an administrator. Essentially, these settings are the rules that control how much access a user has within a computer system. The standard user setting is typically used for most everyday computer use, where security and controlled access are a priority. This limits what a user can change or install. In contrast, the administrator setting is used for system management and administration, requiring full access to perform tasks like installing software, changing network settings, and other administrative needs. Understanding this difference is key to proper system security. Let's discuss how to set up standard user settings using commands, a method you might use in the competition. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, admin. To change a user from an administrator to a standard user, for example, a user named Cyberhero, you would use the command, remove local group member group administrators member Cyberhero. This command removes the Cyberhero user from the administrators group, which automatically makes them a standard user with limited permissions. To verify changes or to see current user setups, you can use these commands. To list all local users on the system, simply type get local user. And to list all members of the administrators group, use get local group member group administrators. This will show all accounts with administrative rights. Remember, after typing each command, press enter to run it. If the command runs successfully, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. This slide displays the PowerShell output and the relevant Windows user interface for the standard user settings. It's important to understand what the bad effects are if standard user settings are not set properly. When users have too many permissions, they may accidentally download and install malicious software onto their computers without realizing it. This can lead to serious infections. Furthermore, users with excessive permissions might unintentionally delete or corrupt important files, potentially leading to critical data loss, which can be very difficult to recover from. Lastly, if permissions are not controlled, sensitive data can be accessed and shared without authorization. This significantly increases the risk of data theft by malicious actors. Therefore, correctly setting standard user permissions is a vital part of your defense strategy. We now move on to Unit 4, Guest Account Settings. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What are guest account settings? How do we set them up? And what are the bad effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are guest account settings? This is an account setting provided within a computer system specifically for temporary or occasional users, such as visitors. This type of account allows only basic functions and grants very limited access. Critically, it does not permit the installation of any new software on the computer system, which is an important security measure. Furthermore, guest accounts are not allowed to modify important security settings, such as the firewall, antivirus programs, or any other security configurations. An important characteristic is that data stored in a guest account is usually temporary and will typically be deleted automatically after the guest logs out or when the computer is shut down. This ensures privacy and system cleanliness. Now, let's look at how to set up guest account settings using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To ensure a user is properly set as a guest, you might first need to remove them from the general users group if they were previously there. You would use a command like remove local group member group users member temporary guest. This command removes the temporary guest user from the standard users group. Then, to formally add a user to the guests group, you would use the command add local group guests member temporary guest. This command specifically adds the temporary guest user to the designated guests group, applying all its limited permissions. To verify all local user accounts on the system, you can use the command get local user. As with previous commands, remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. Take a look at the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the guest account settings on this slide. It is very important to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set up your guest account properly. If a guest account is accidentally given administrator or even standard user rights, it creates a significant security risk. In such cases, hackers could potentially use this improperly configured guest account to access and steal sensitive data from the computer system. Furthermore, if a guest account has unrestricted use, a guest or even a malicious program could download and install unauthorized software. This software might contain viruses or malware, compromising the entire system. Lastly, if settings are incorrect, privacy data stored in a guest account might not be deleted when the computer is logged out or turned off, which goes against the purpose of a temporary guest account and could expose sensitive information. Properly managing guest accounts is therefore a critical defense measure. We now move on to Unit 5, Firewall Settings. In this unit, we will address critical questions. What are firewall settings? How do we set them up? And what are the bad effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are firewall settings? These are settings used in the network security system, often simply called a firewall. The main purpose of firewall settings is to check and manage all the data packets trying to enter or leave your computer or network. Specifically, firewall settings will check and allow data packets that are believed to be safe based on special security rules that are already set up. Conversely, they will also check and block any data packets that are believed to be dangerous, again based on these predefined security rules. This setting can also be used to block access to certain websites or files that are potentially dangerous or inappropriate, acting as a crucial barrier against online threats. Let's discuss how to set up firewall settings using PowerShell commands. As before, you will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enable the Windows firewall for various network types, you can use the command Set net firewall profile domain, public, private enabled true. This command is very important as it enables the Windows firewall for all common network types you might encounter, domain, private, and public networks, ensuring broad protection. To quickly check the current status of the Windows firewall profiles, you can use the command get net firewall profile select object name, enabled. This command will display the name of each network profile and whether its firewall is currently enabled, shown as true, or disabled, shown as false. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. This slide features the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the firewall settings. It is essential to understand what the bad effects are of not setting your firewall properly. Without a correctly configured firewall, you significantly increase the risk of your computer being exposed to various network attacks from hackers. If a firewall is not doing its job, hackers can more easily break into your computer system. Once they gain access, their objectives can include stealing your sensitive data, corrupting important files on your system, or even taking complete control over your computer system. This demonstrates why a properly configured firewall is one of the most fundamental and critical layers of defense in cybersecurity. We now proceed to Unit 6, Windows Update Settings. In this unit, we will explore key questions. What are Windows Update settings? How do we configure them? And what are the negative effects if they are not set up properly? So, what are Windows Update settings? This is a crucial setting that allows a computer to automatically download and install the very latest updates for the Windows operating system directly from Microsoft. The purpose of this setting is twofold. Firstly, it significantly improves the software execution process, meaning your computer runs more smoothly and efficiently. Secondly, and very importantly for cybersecurity, it greatly increases the security of the computer system by applying fixes that protect against the latest hacking threats and vulnerabilities. Furthermore, these updates also fix bugs or problems that may exist in older software systems, ensuring your computer remains stable and secure. Let's discuss how to set up Windows Update settings using PowerShell commands, which are common in practical scenarios. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enable what's called continuous innovation in Windows Update settings, which can allow for automatic feature updates, you would use the command set item property path hklm /software /Microsoft /Windows Update /UX /settings name. Is continuous innovation opted in value 1 type dword force. This command helps ensure your system receives the newest features and security improvements promptly. After making changes, it's often necessary to restart the related service. To restart the Windows Update service itself, which is named WARSOF, you would use the command restart service name WARSOF force. This ensures that your new Windows Update settings are working correctly. To check the current status of the Windows Update service, whether it is running or stopped, you can use the command get service name WARSOF. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. Here you'll see the PowerShell output and the relevant Windows user interface for the Windows Update settings. It is critical to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set your Windows Update settings properly. Firstly, hackers can easily exploit known weaknesses, called vulnerabilities, that exist in an outdated operating system. If your Windows system is not regularly updated, these vulnerabilities remain open, making your computer an easy target for attacks. Secondly, an outdated Windows system can also significantly affect overall computer performance, leading to slower operations and potentially preventing optimal workflow. This not only impacts security but also the efficiency of your computer tasks. Therefore, keeping your Windows updates correctly configured and enabled is a very important defense action. We now move on to Unit 7, External USB port settings. In this unit, we will discuss key questions. What are external USB port settings? How do we set them up? And what are the negative effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are external USB port settings? These are specific configurations that allow your computer system to recognize, format, manage, and ultimately protect the USB drives that users connect. When a USB drive is inserted, the operating system will automatically recognize it and notify the user that the USB drive is now connected to the computer system. These settings are also linked to the Safely Remove Hardware option. This setting ensures that both USB drives and any data stored on them are safe to be removed from the computer's USB port without causing data loss or damage. Let's discuss how to set up external USB port settings using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To list all USB devices connected to your computer, you can use the command get PNP device class USB select object status, class, friendly name, instance ID. This command will display important details for each USB device, including its status, class, a friendly name, and a unique identifier called the instance ID. In the list that appears, you should look for devices with the class listed as USB that have the associated name USB root hub, as these are often the main control points for USB ports. To disable a specific USB root hub, you would use a command like this: disable PNP device instance ID USB /root _hub 20/4 and 6A987E4 and 0 confirm $false. Please note, the instance ID shown here is just an example. You would use the exact instance ID identified from the previous step. This command disables that specific USB root hub. To check whether a USB device has been properly disabled or if it is still active, you can use the same listing command again: get PNP device class USB select object status, class, friendly name, instance ID. This helps confirm your changes. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. This slide displays the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the external USB port settings. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are of not setting up an external USB port properly. Firstly, if these settings are not secure, someone with a USB drive infected with malware can physically connect it to a victim's computer, or they might even trick the victim into doing so. This creates a direct pathway for infection. Secondly, once an infected USB drive is connected to a computer, hackers can exploit this access to steal sensitive data, corrupt important files, or even completely take over the victim's computer system. This demonstrates why properly managing your external USB port settings is a critical defense measure in preventing physical and digital attacks. We now proceed to Unit 8, Reputation-Based Security and Defense Settings. In this unit, we will address key questions. What are these settings? How do we configure them? And what are the negative effects if they are not set up properly? So, what are reputation-based security and defense settings? These are important configurations designed to prevent potentially dangerous applications and files from running on your computer based on their online reputation. These settings provide an extra layer of protection, particularly by blocking applications downloaded from unknown or high-risk sources, often using a feature like Microsoft Defender Smart Screen. Furthermore, these settings also work with your web browsers to protect users from websites that are suspected of being dangerous and potentially contain various cyber threats. Essentially, your computer checks the trustworthiness of software and websites before allowing them to operate or be accessed. Let's discuss how to set up reputation-based security and defense settings using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enable the Check Apps and Files feature, you would use the command set item property path hklm /software /Microsoft /Windows /current version /Explorer name Smart Screen enabled value require admin type dword force. This command configures the Smart Screen feature to always require administrator approval before running unrecognized apps or files. To check the current status of this setting, you can use the command get item property path hklm /software /Microsoft /Windows /current version /Explorer name Smart Screen enabled. This command will display the current value of the Smart Screen enabled setting, showing whether it's enabled or not. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. Take a look at the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the reputation-based security and defense settings on this slide. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set up reputation-based security and defense settings properly. Firstly, without these restrictions on unknown or risky files, your computers can easily become infected with various types of malware. There's no system checking the trustworthiness of software before it runs. Secondly, users can easily be tricked into downloading fake or dangerous applications. Without security warnings from these settings, they might unknowingly install harmful software. Lastly, user data can be exposed to theft through malicious websites that are not blocked. These websites might try to steal personal information, and without reputation-based protection, your browser might not warn you about them. Proper configuration of these settings adds a vital layer of defense against these digital threats. We now move on to Unit 9, Ransomware Protection Availability and Settings. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What is ransomware protection? How do we configure these settings? And what are the negative effects if they are not set up properly? So, what is the availability and settings of ransomware protection? These are very important settings designed to protect your user files and data from ransomware threats. Ransomware is a type of malicious software that attempts to encrypt or lock up your files or modify them without your permission. These settings provide an additional layer of security to prevent unauthorized access to crucial folders and files on your system. A key feature within these settings is called Controlled Folder Access, CFA. CFA works by blocking untrusted applications from modifying important documents in standard folders such as documents, pictures, desktop, and videos, ensuring strong protection against ransomware attacks. Let's discuss how to set up ransomware protection settings using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enable controlled folder access, you would use the command setmp preference, enable controlled folder access enabled. This command directly activates the controlled folder access feature within Windows Defender, which is a key part of ransomware protection. After making changes to group policy settings, it is good practice to update them. You can do this by typing the command update force. This command ensures that any changes to group policy are applied immediately to your system. To check the current status of the controlled folder access setting, you can use the command getmp preference select object enable controlled folder access. This command will display whether the feature is currently enabled or not. Remember to press enter after typing each command to run it. If a command is successful, you will typically see no output displayed in PowerShell. This slide features the PowerShell output and the relevant Windows user interface for the ransomware protection availability and settings. It is extremely important to understand what the bad effects are of not properly setting up ransomware protection availability and settings. Firstly, a user's important files can be modified or encrypted by malicious software without permission. This can lead to irretrievable data loss, meaning your files might be permanently locked or destroyed. Secondly, without these protections, untrusted applications can easily access sensitive folders. This significantly increases the risk of widespread ransomware attacks that can quickly spread throughout your entire system or even across a network, impacting many computers. Proper ransomware protection is thus a critical defense against this destructive form of cyber attack. We now progress to Defense Level 2, Computer Network Settings. This level focuses on securing how your computer connects to the broader network. For Defense Level 2, focusing on computer network settings, you will be performing 5 key activities. These include configuring Ethernet connection settings, adjusting network discovery settings, managing file and folder sharing settings, setting up IP address settings, and controlling remote desktop control settings. We now begin with Unit 1, Ethernet connection settings. In this unit, we will address key questions. What are Ethernet connection settings? How do we set them up? And what are the bad effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are Ethernet connection settings? These are configurations that control how your computer uses an internet or network connection that comes through an Ethernet cable. Essentially, these settings are responsible for configuring and automatically providing your computer with important network information, such as IP and DNS addresses, directly from the network router. They ensure that your computer can communicate correctly and securely over a wired network. Let's discuss how to set up Ethernet connection settings using PowerShell commands. As usual, you will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enhance security, you might need to disable certain components on your Ethernet connection. For example, to disable the client for Microsoft Networks on your Ethernet adapter, you would use the command disable net adapter binding name Ethernet component ID ms_client. This restricts certain types of network communication. Similarly, to disable the file and printer sharing feature on your Ethernet network adapter, you would use the command disable net adapter binding name Ethernet component ID ms_server. This prevents your computer from easily sharing files and printers over the network, which can be a security risk. To verify that these components have been properly disabled, you can use the command get net adapter binding name Ethernet where object component ID in at ms_client ms_server select object component ID enabled. This command will show you the status of both client for Microsoft Networks and file and printer sharing, indicating whether they are enabled or disabled. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. Here you'll see the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the Ethernet connection settings. It is important to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set up your Ethernet connection properly. Firstly, if certain network components are left active, your computer might be able to access network resources other than just the Windows network, potentially exposing it to systems with different or less secure protocols. This could unintentionally broaden your computer's reach and increase its vulnerability. Secondly, improper settings may affect or even disable your ability to securely share files or printers with other users on other networks. This highlights the balance between functionality and security, and why careful configuration of Ethernet settings is a key part of network defense. We now move on to Unit 2, Network Discovery Settings. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What are network discovery settings? How do we configure them? And what are the negative effects if they are not set up properly? So, what are network discovery settings? This is a setting that allows your computer to find and connect to other computers, printers, and various network devices that are present on your local network. It is often used when you want to share file folders with other computers, or when you need to print by connecting your computer to a printer across the network. Importantly, this setting also makes your own computer discoverable by other devices that are on the same network. While convenient for sharing, it also presents a potential security consideration. Let's discuss how to set up network discovery settings using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To disable network discovery for common network profiles, specifically private and public networks, you would use the command set net firewall rule display group network discovery enabled false profile private, public. This command turns off the ability for your computer to be easily found by others on those networks. To check the current status of all firewall rules related to network discovery, you can use the command get net firewall rule display group network discovery select object name enabled. This command will list each relevant rule and show whether it is currently enabled or disabled. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. This slide displays the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the network discovery settings. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are of not setting network discovery settings properly. Firstly, if network discovery is not configured securely, unknown users on the same network can easily see and access your computer. This significantly increases the risk of them carrying out attacks, such as stealing your data or installing harmful malware without your knowledge. Secondly, if sensitive data is present on your computer and network discovery is enabled without proper restrictions, that data may be exposed to parties who should not have access to it. This highlights the importance of controlling visibility on a network to protect your information. We now proceed to Unit 3, File and Folder Sharing Settings. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What are file and folder sharing settings? How do we set them up? And what are the negative effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are file and folder sharing settings? These are configurations that allow your computer to share files and even printers with other devices or computers that are on the same network. This means that if another user has the necessary permissions, they can access a folder or file that you have shared from your computer. These settings are convenient for collaboration, but they also require careful management to ensure security. Let's discuss how to set up file and folder sharing settings using PowerShell commands. As before, you will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To disable file and printer sharing for the private and public network profiles in your Windows firewall, which is a common security practice, you would use the command setnet firewall rule display group file and printer sharing enabled false profile private, public. This command helps to prevent unwanted access to your shared files and printers from these network types. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. Take a look at the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the file and folder sharing settings on this slide. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set up file and folder sharing properly. Firstly, if too many files or large folders are shared without proper management, this can overload the network. This can lead to slower network performance, making it difficult for everyone to use the network effectively. Secondly, and more importantly for security, improper sharing settings can significantly increase the risk of external users gaining access to your public folders without your permission or even without your knowledge. This creates a serious vulnerability for data theft or unauthorized access to your system. Therefore, careful configuration of these settings is vital. We now move on to Unit 4, IP address settings. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What are IP address settings? How do we set them up? And what are the negative effects if they are not configured properly? So, what are IP address settings? An IP address is like a unique identification number assigned to your computer, allowing it to communicate with other devices on a local network or across the vast internet. This setting is very important if two or more computers or other devices need to connect and use the same network traffic routing, like through a router. IP addresses can be assigned in two main ways, either automatically, which is usually done by a system called DHCP, or manually, where you set a specific, fixed or static IP address yourself. Proper IP address settings are fundamental for any network communication. Let's discuss how to set up IP address settings using PowerShell commands. As always, you will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To enable your Ethernet connection to obtain an IP address automatically through DHCP, which is the most common and often recommended setting, you would use the command setnet IP interface alias Ethernet DHCP enabled. This allows your computer to get its network address from the router. To set the DNS, domain name system, settings for your Ethernet connection to automatic, ensuring your computer can correctly find websites, you would use the command set DNS client server address interface alias Ethernet reset server addresses. To check the current DHCP status for your Ethernet connection, whether it is enabled or not, you can use the command getnet IP interface alias Ethernet select object interface alias DHCP. This will show you if DHCP is active. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. This slide features the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the IP address settings. It is very important to understand what the bad effects are of not setting IP address settings properly. Firstly, if two or more computers happen to have the exact same IP address on the network, it will cause conflicts and disruptions in network communications. Neither device will be able to communicate correctly, leading to network problems. Secondly, if the IP address is not set correctly in general, your computer may simply not be able to connect to the network at all, or it might not be able to access the internet. This prevents any online activity. Lastly, and critically for security, If IP address settings are misconfigured, or if an attacker manipulates them, hackers could potentially intercept your computer's communications. This would allow them to steal every password and personal information that is sent over your network, leading to serious data breaches. Proper IP address configuration is thus a fundamental security measure. We now arrive at Unit 5, Remote Desktop Control Settings. In this final unit for Defense Level 2, we will examine key questions. What are remote desktop control settings? How do we configure them? And what are the negative effects if they are not set up properly? So, what are remote desktop control settings? These are configurations that allow users to access and control a computer from a distance, or remotely, over a network or even across the internet. With these settings enabled and configured, users can use other devices to connect to your computer and then have full access to all your applications and files as if they were sitting right in front of it. While this feature is very convenient for remote work or support, it also requires careful security management. Let's discuss how to set up remote desktop control settings using PowerShell commands. As always, you will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To block incoming Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP, connections to the computer, which is a common security hardening step, you would use the command, set item property path HKLM, /system /current control set /control /terminal server name, fdinits connections value 1. This command sets a specific value that will prevent others from connecting to your desktop remotely. To check the current status of this setting and see whether RDP connections are allowed or blocked, you can use the command, get item property path HKLM /system /current control set /control /terminal server. fdinits connections. If the value displayed is 0, connections are allowed. If it's 1, they are blocked. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. Here you'll see the PowerShell output and the Windows user interface for the remote desktop control settings. It is very important to understand what the bad effects are if you do not set remote desktop control settings properly. Firstly, if these settings are left unsecured, especially if strong passwords are not set on the user's computer, hackers or unauthorized users may be able to easily access and control your computer remotely. This grants them full control over your system. Secondly, a computer with improperly configured remote desktop is vulnerable to various forms of malware. Once accessed, malicious software can be installed to steal your sensitive data or cause significant damage to your system. Therefore, properly securing remote desktop control is a critical defense measure. We now transition to Defense Level 3, Cybersecurity Breach Recovery Actions. This section will focus on the steps to take when a security incident has already occurred. For Defense Level 3, focusing on cybersecurity breach recovery actions, you will be performing 4 key activities. These include responding to malware attacks, analyzing network log attacks, addressing backdoor account attacks, and recovering from remote desktop attacks. We now begin with Unit 1, Malware Attacks. In this unit, we will address key questions. What is a malware attack? How do we recover from one? And what are the negative effects if recovery is not done properly? So, what is a malware attack? This type of attack involves the use of malicious software, or malware, which is harmful code specifically designed to steal data, damage computer systems, or disrupt their operations. Hackers use these attacks to gain unauthorized access, steal sensitive information, or even take complete control of a victim's computer system without their knowledge. Malware can come in many different forms, such as viruses, trojans, ransomware, spyware, and worms. Each of these types has its own unique methods of attack, making it important to understand their various behaviors. Let's discuss how to recover from malware attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To help identify suspicious files, you can use a command to display a list of specific file types, for instance, all PowerShell script files. PS1, within a folder like C:\users. The command is, get child item path C:\users recurse filter star. PS1 error action silently continue select object full name, last write time. This will show you the full path and the last time these files were changed. Once you identify suspicious files, you can delete them using a command like remove item path c:\/ users \public left bracket file whitespace name whitespace found right bracket force. Remember, file name found is a placeholder. You would replace it with the actual file path you found. This command will forcefully remove the suspicious file. For continuous protection, you can set up a command to monitor a specific folder, such as c:\users \public, for any new PS1 files. If a new PS1 file appears, this command will automatically delete it. The script for this is $watcher equals new object system IO file system watcher $watcher path equals c:\users \public $watcher filter equals star PS1 inch $watcher enable raising events equals $true register object event $watcher created action remove item path $event source event args full path force. This creates an active watcher that continuously protects the folder. Remember, after typing each command, press enter to run it. If a command is successful, no output will typically be displayed. This slide displays the PowerShell output related to malware attack recovery and how it works. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if a malware attack is not recovered from properly. Firstly, malware can corrupt important system files, significantly slow down your computer's performance, and ultimately cause complete system failures, making the computer unusable. Secondly, if malware remains on the system, hackers can continue to steal personal information, sensitive financial data, and confidential documents without you ever realizing it. Your private information remains at high risk. Finally, unremoved malware can allow hackers to remotely control your computer, change system settings without your permission, or even install more malicious software. This gives them persistent access and control over your system. Therefore, thorough recovery is essential. We now move to Unit 2, Network Log Attacks. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What is a network log attack? How do we recover from one? And what are the negative effects if recovery is not done properly? So, what is a network log attack? This is a type of attack where hackers create fake system logs that appear to be legitimate diagnostic reports. The core of this attack involves generating fake network logs that look real, but their true purpose is to hide the hacker's activities within the system. These fake network logs are used to confuse system administrators and conceal what the hacker is doing. Ultimately, this attack makes security monitoring very difficult, allowing hackers to maintain access to the system for a long time without being detected. Let's discuss how to recover from network log attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To help find suspicious hidden files, including those that might have a log extension, you can use the command get child item path c:\users \public force where object $_ attributes match hidden. This command will scan the c:\users \public folder and list any hidden files. Once you suspect a log file, to display all the information within it, allowing you to investigate for suspicious activity, you can use the command get content path c:\users \public left bracket found whitespace file whitespace name right bracket. Remember to replace found file name with the actual name of the file you are checking. If a suspicious file is hidden, you may need to unhide it first using attrib hc:\users \public left bracket found whitespace file whitespace name right bracket. To forcibly delete a suspicious log file from the system, you would use the command remove item path c:\users \public left bracket found whitespace file whitespace name right bracket force. Finally, type the command get child item path c:\users \public force where object $_ attributes match hidden. This command will list back all hidden files. Remember to press enter after typing each command to run it. Now take a look at the PowerShell output for network log attack recovery on this slide and how it works. It is critical to understand what the bad effects are if a network log attack is not recovered from properly. Firstly, attack detection becomes extremely difficult because hackers can effectively hide their tracks by creating and manipulating network logs. This makes their attacks very hard to find and respond to. Secondly, without authentic and reliable logs, suspicious activity cannot be detected. System administrators may not be aware of unauthorized access or ongoing attack attempts, leaving the system vulnerable. Finally, with altered logs, hackers can maintain long-term access to the system. This allows them to continue to control the system without being detected by security teams, potentially leading to prolonged damage or data theft. Proper recovery of logs is thus vital for maintaining system integrity and security. We now delve into Unit 3, Backdoor Account Attacks. In this unit, we will address key questions. What is a backdoor account attack? How do we recover from one? And what are the negative effects if recovery is not done properly? So, what is a backdoor account attack? This attack involves hackers secretly creating hidden accounts on a system to gain unauthorized access. These backdoor accounts are designed to allow attackers to bypass normal security mechanisms, meaning they can continue to control the system even after you might have taken other recovery measures, like changing regular user passwords. Such accounts can be used by hackers to steal your data, install more malware, or launch further attacks without being noticed by the system's legitimate users or administrators. Let's discuss how to recover from backdoor account attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To check for recent activity logs in the Windows security logs that might indicate account creation or deletion, you can use the command getWinEventFilter hashtable at logname equals security, ID equals at 4720, 4663, max events 10. This command looks for events like the creation of new accounts, ID 4720, or the deletion of accounts, ID 4663, showing you the 10 most recent such events. To check for any suspicious accounts that might have administrator rights, you can use the command getLocalUser. This command will list all local user accounts on the system, allowing you to identify any unfamiliar accounts. Once an invalid or suspicious account is identified, you can delete it from the system using a command like remove local user name backdoor admin. Remember, backdoor admin is an example. You would replace it with the actual name of the account you wish to remove. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. This slide features the PowerShell output relevant to backdoor account attack recovery and how it works. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if a backdoor account attack is not recovered from properly. Firstly, hackers can enter a system undetected and gain full control without requiring the normal administrator credentials, making it very difficult to spot their presence. Secondly, backdoor accounts allow hackers to maintain control over the system even after regular passwords are changed or other security measures are taken. They have a persistent way back into your system. Finally, sensitive information can be stolen, altered, or even destroyed without the knowledge of the legitimate user or system administrator. This means data loss and privacy breaches can occur silently. Therefore, thorough recovery and removal of backdoor accounts are absolutely essential for system security. We now move to Unit 4, Remote Desktop Attacks. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What is a remote desktop attack? How do we recover from one? And what are the negative effects if recovery is not done properly? So, what is a remote desktop attack? This type of attack allows hackers to remotely execute malicious commands or software directly on a victim's computer. Attackers typically exploit vulnerabilities found in the Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP, or other network services to gain unauthorized access to a system. Once inside, hackers can take over a system completely, steal sensitive data, or even spread malware across an entire network. This makes proper management of remote desktop a critical security measure. Let's discuss how to recover from remote desktop attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To check the latest Remote Desktop Protocol, or RDP, connections to identify any suspicious activity, you can use the command get event log logname security instance ID 4624 newest 5. This will show you the 5 most recent successful RDP logins. To disable RDP access before setting up a firewall rule, you would use the command set item property path hklm /system /current control set /control /terminal server name fdnits connections value 1. This directly blocks incoming RDP connections. To add a firewall rule that specifically blocks RDP access to the system, preventing unauthorized connections, you can use the command NewNet firewall rule displayname block RDP temporarily direction inbound protocol TCP local port 3389 action block. This creates a new firewall rule. To check whether the firewall rule you have just set is working, you can use the command getNet firewall rule displayname block RDP temporarily. This will confirm its presence. Finally, if for any reason the firewall rule is not activated, you can ensure RDP remains blocked by typing the command setNet firewall rule displayname block RDP temporarily enabled true. This explicitly enables the rule. Remember to press enter after typing each command to run it. Here you'll see the PowerShell output related to remote desktop attack recovery and how it works. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if a remote desktop attack is not recovered from properly. Firstly, hackers can remotely control a system without requiring valid credentials, which means they can execute malicious commands without any authorization. This gives them full power over your computer. Secondly, these types of attacks can be used to install various forms of malware, such as ransomware or Trojans. This malware can then steal your data, encrypt your files, or cause widespread system corruption, leading to significant disruption and loss. Finally, hackers can modify or even destroy important files on your system, which can lead to complete system failure and the irretrievable loss of critical data. Therefore, proper recovery from these attacks is paramount for maintaining system integrity and data security. We now advance to Defense Level 4, Life Cyber Attack Defense Actions. This crucial section will focus on proactive measures and immediate responses to specific types of cyber attacks. For Defense Level 4, focusing on life cyber attack defense actions, you will be performing 2 key activities. These include defending against USB drive attacks and mitigating keylogger attacks. We now begin with Unit 1, USB drive attacks. In this unit, we will address key questions. What is a USB drive attack? How do we defend against it? And what are the negative effects if protection is not established properly? So, what is a USB drive attack? These are cyber attacks that specifically use USB drives as a vector to spread malicious software, known as malware, or to exploit vulnerabilities within computer systems. Hackers can employ USB drives for various nefarious purposes, such as stealing sensitive information or copying important files without permission. Furthermore, attackers can configure USB drives to automatically run scripts or programs when connected to a computer, exploiting features like autorun to open backdoors into the system and gain unauthorized access. Let's discuss how to defend against USB drive attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To detect potential fake or malicious virtual hard disks, VHDs, in the system, which can be used to hide malware, you can use the command get disk format table auto size. If you observe MSFT virtual disk listed and it's unexpected, it could indicate a suspicious or fake drive. To list all the drives currently available in the system and help identify any suspicious ones, you can use the command get PS drive PS provider file system. This provides an overview of connected storage. To detect suspicious content within a virtual drive, for instance, a drive labeled E, you would use the command get child item path E:/recurse. This command will list all files and folders within that drive, allowing you to investigate for anything unusual. To check if there are any scheduled tasks that automatically run or mount virtual drives, which could be a backdoor, you can use the command get scheduled task where object $_. Task name like *VHD*. This helps identify automated threats. Continuing with our defense steps, If you find a scheduled task that automatically mounts VHDs, you can disable it using the command disable scheduled task name automount VHD. This will stop the task from running automatically. To permanently delete such a scheduled task and prevent the virtual drive from being remounted, you would use unregister scheduled task name automount VHD confirm $false. This removes the task entirely. To find the location of a suspicious or fake VHD file that might be stored on your system, for example, on the C:\drive, you can use the command get child item path C:\recurse filter star. VHD error action silently continue. This helps locate the hidden virtual disk file. Once located, to unmount the virtual drive, VHD, and remove the fake drive from the system's active state, use dismount disk image path C:\fake drive. VHD. Remember, C:\fake drive. VHD is an example path. You'd use the actual path. Finally, to permanently delete the fake VHD file from your system, use the command remove item path C:\fake drive. VHD force. This physically removes the malicious file. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. This slide displays the PowerShell output for USB drive attack defense and how it works. T is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if you do not defend against USB drive attacks properly. Firstly, a significant risk is the spread of malware, which can automatically install viruses, trojans, ransomware, or keyloggers into your system without your knowledge. This is particularly dangerous because malware can be automatically installed simply when an infected USB drive is connected to your computer, often without any user interaction. Secondly, improper defense leads to data theft and leakage. Important information can be copied or stolen by attackers without your permission, compromising your privacy and security. Therefore, strong defenses against USB drive attacks are essential. We now proceed to Unit 2, Keylogger attacks. In this unit, we will cover key questions. What is a keylogger attack? How do we defend against it? And what are the negative effects if protection is not established properly? So, what is a keylogger attack? This is a malicious attack that uses specialized software or hardware to secretly record every single input a user makes on their keyboard. This means every keystroke, every letter, number, or symbol typed, is captured. Keyloggers are primarily used by hackers to steal sensitive information such as passwords, confidential financial data, and other personal details. These devices or software can be installed in various ways, often via malware or through phishing emails, which would be a software keylogger, or as hidden hardware devices attached to the computer, all without the victim realizing they are being monitored. Let's discuss how to defend against keylogger attacks using PowerShell commands. You will begin by pressing the Windows key and X, then selecting Windows PowerShell, Admin. To get an idea of currently running programs, which might include an active keylogger, you can use the command get wimiobject win32_process whereobject $_. Command line match PowerShell cmd wscript script, select object process ID, command line. This command shows processes related to scripting environments. It's important to note that this command can only detect threats that are still actively running at that moment. If the malware has already closed or is not actively executing, it will not be displayed by this method. To search for suspicious hidden text files in common locations like your Documents folder, which might contain collected keystroke records or activity logs from the keylogger, you can use the command get child item path $env user profile \documents recurse force filter star. Text. Once identified, to delete suspicious keylogger scripts or data files in the Documents folder, you can use a command like remove item path $env user profile \documents found file name force. Remember to replace found file name with the actual name of the file you found. Additionally, to delete general log files that may contain data collected by a keylogger, you can use remove item path $env user profile \documents \logs. Text force. Remember to press Enter after typing each command to run it. Take a look at the PowerShell output for keylogger attack defense on this slide and how it works. It is crucial to understand what the bad effects are if you do not defend against keylogger attacks properly. Firstly, a keylogger installed without your knowledge can secretly record every single letter you type. This includes highly personal information such as private messages, your home address, and sensitive identification numbers, all without your awareness. Secondly, all the information recorded by a keylogger can be easily stolen and misused by hackers. This leads to serious privacy breaches and potential financial fraud. Finally, having a keylogger active on your system gives hackers the opportunity to take complete control of your system without the owner's knowledge. They can then install additional malware, steal more data, or launch further cyber attacks from your compromised computer. Therefore, robust defense against keyloggers is absolutely vital for your digital security. Now, we will introduce a fundamental concept in cybersecurity and computer management: Windows Virtual Machine, or VM. This concept is crucial for safe testing and learning environments. So, what is VirtualBox? VirtualBox is a versatile virtualization software that allows users to run multiple operating systems, known as virtual machines, on a single physical computer. It provides a safe and controlled environment to run these guest operating systems, enabling users to explore, test, and learn about different systems without affecting their main, or host, system. The main function of VirtualBox is precisely to allow users to test and experiment with various operating systems without impacting their primary operating system. Some of the operating systems that can be run inside VirtualBox include Linux, Mac OS X, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, and many more, making it a highly flexible tool for cybersecurity practice and development. With our technical training complete, we will now transition to the briefing for the competition. This section will cover all the essential details you need to know for the upcoming event. The Defend Your Fort competition will be conducted face-to-face and will consist of various missions related to cybersecurity. Each team will begin with a shield strength score of 100 points. Damage points will be deducted from the shield strength when the team fails to complete a mission or violates any of the competition rules. The starting time for each mission will be determined by the organizer or facilitator. Teams are not allowed to begin a mission without explicit instructions from the organizer or facilitator, even if the previous mission has been completed. Details for each mission will be provided to each team during the competition. Organizer folder. A folder titled Defend Your Fort will be placed on the desktop of the provided system. This folder belongs to the organizer and must not be opened, modified, or deleted without instruction from the facilitator. Violating this rule will result in immediate disqualification. PowerShell task and video display. During the competition, participants are not allowed to close or hide the PowerShell tasks unless instructed by the facilitator. After each mission, participants must wait for the facilitator to record the score before closing any video or display. Failure to comply will result in point deduction or disqualification. Time and scoring. Each mission must be completed within the given time limit. Failure to do so will result in point deductions. Each team must ensure the facilitator has recorded their score before proceeding to the next mission.